name is Sandra Jordan. I am the Yacht Crew Coach and the Yacht Purser. And with me today, I have Claire Szekeres. She is a chief stew on an 85-meter yacht, and she is joining me today to talk about some of her tips for crew who will be looking for a job post-COVID-19, and also perhaps some of the things that you can focus on right now, even if that means that you're not doing a course and upskilling like everyone says you should be, and maybe some of the things that you can do to focus on your own mental health during this time. So welcome, Claire. Thanks for joining me.
So much, Sandra.
So you are currently in Palma and you are on lockdown at the moment. You've been how many days in lockdown?
I believe it's day 31 or 32, day 32 today.
Oh,
so I should be back on my boat, but Malta unfortunately closed the borders to people from Spain 2 days before I was due back from my rotation. So I'm currently working from my bedroom and we're kind of trying to maintain sanity as well.
Do you have any tips for people who are trying to work from home during this time, for any heads of department, besides using their ironing board as a desk?
Oh, yes. I do really recommend the ironing board as long as you take the cover off, because I've managed to put quite a lot of coffee on it so far. That's my top tip. My biggest tip is, and I'm sure it's one of those ones, is just trying to keep as much as you can to a routine. I try and keep the 8 o'clock start, 10 o'clock break, 12 o'clock lunch, with some flexibility kind of in there as well. But something that's definitely, I think, important. It also helps me keep more connected with the boat as well. If I am kind of on the same schedule. Both myself and the purser were unable to return to the boat. So we're both kind of working remotely, which is really nice as well, to have that kind of shared experience of kind of like what we're going through.
Yeah.
Good use of Microsoft Teams and Zoom and everything as well, to try and kind of stay as connected as possible.
Okay.
I've got my head housekeeper on board at the moment, who's kind of like running everything when I'm there. So far it's worked out pretty well.
Okay, great. So are you still managing to have morning meetings via Zoom, or how are you doing it at the moment?
I was originally WhatsApp face timing in for morning meetings, but then I figured I was more of a distraction because the internet in Palma at the moment is worse than the VSAT on board. So that isn't one of my other major struggles, is obviously living in an old town, and the internet is terrible. I'm keeping in very good contact with those on board, but I'm also taking a bit of a step back and letting the day-to-day running of the vessel kind of happen without me. There's normally 10 in the interior. There's only 4 on at the moment, so it's a very reduced kind of like workload, and everything and what they can kind of actually do at the moment is a lot of maintenance and not really getting in much traction.
Right. But are you able to keep them occupied with, doing inventories or reorganizing things, or, how?
Yeah, I mean, we're coming to the end of quite a busy yacht period. At the moment, this is when a lot of everything that we've been kind of updating and working on throughout the winter yacht period is coming kind of to a head now. So there's been lots of deliveries and lots of things that they can and have been working on. A lot of the projects that we weren't able to do just due to contractors, etc., on board are also kind of being able to get done. They are incredibly busy just going with the maintenance though, and just kind of like keeping on top of our checklists. So it's not kind of too much extra. I think one of the other things that I've really tried to help with is morale on board as well. I've been thinking up games and kind of giving my okay for them to take some of the work time out they go into the galley and help. We've only got one chef on at the moment as well. So going on the galley and helping her out, and especially with her monthly cleaning, because cooking for the crew with only, one chef with no help at all is just mentally taxing as well. They've been on lockdown for a while, and they're in quarantine for kind of like for 2 weeks and couldn't even step outside. And when you're under a tent, that's difficult not to get any natural light at all. So they've had think they've kept in very good spirits. There was a 30th birthday on board, of which a bunch of us did zoom in to, to participate for a while there. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just keeping kind of like morale up
Okay.
is important.
Right, I know some of my students have been doing quiz nights on board, and I suggested karaoke because that is always my fun thing. I know that some of the other, people I've been keeping in contact with do a lot of dancing and movement and all of that kind of stuff. I know that's something that you and I were big into when we were working together, doing our own dance. And it is amazing just how much getting up and even being silly and not taking yourself so seriously can just change that mental state.
I know. I mean, our 3 o'clock interpretive dance sessions were the highlight of my day, and definitely make the afternoon go faster. So.
No, they definitely were the highlight of my day too. So yeah, I definitely think if you are stuck on board, to do something like that is yeah, it's just fun, and it just takes you, it allows you to not be so serious. So one of the things I've started with my students is a book club. So we're not talking about all the assignments all the time and serious stuff and all of that. Joy has been the first nomination, so Joy is a mutual.
I tried to start a book club with my old school friends, and it has not gone well so far. Right. But I'm the only one who's read it, so.
Yeah. So.
But it's nice.
Yeah. All right. No, and just when this is all over and you can get back on board, and are you going to be hiring the rest of your team? Are you going to be hiring people? Have you already started looking for people?
We are at the moment we're almost fully crewed, just because originally we were having a boss trip in April. So we were working towards really building out. We were unsurprisingly delayed somewhat. So that was the boss trip was originally pushed back from the beginning of April to the end of April, and obviously not happening now. So we actually have one more position to fill. The biggest thing for me is obviously the massive uncertainty. I have stewardesses currently on 4 different continents. So a lot of it is when I can physically get them back to the boat. I'm imagining that Europe would probably kind of like open up maybe sooner than more widely. So I'm wondering whether I will have to either hire temporary or permanent crew to kind of come in from more locally, to support whatever boss trip and charters that may hopefully be.
Yeah. I know that one of the big things is the charter industry has been severely impacted. So that's going to be interesting to see. However, I do think that people who have money are wanting to possibly get away from all the lockdowns and all the money that we've been saving on not traveling and not doing everything. Maybe they will be spending on chartering a yacht and continuing with their holidays and continuing with their vacations. So hopefully, the charter market won't be too negatively affected. I know that France has recently reversed a decision. They were going to take away the lump sum VAT reduction on the charter fee, and they've reversed that. They said, no, you can still do that if you go into international waters. So yeah, that is something that they're looking to do to get some more charters. But yeah.
I mean, I know that from our boat's perspective is obviously we're just going to be as prepared as we can for it. We know that our boss will want to come on hopefully at some point if it's possible, and in order to be ready for him, we can be charter ready as well. So if the charter season can kind of go ahead, I know we'll be ready for it, and that's very much supported by our owners and by our management and all the heads of department on board. So I think it's very good for myself and the rest of the team to be able to look forward to that and to be able to continue to plan towards that. So it gives anyone on board and off board, time to something to focus towards and something to look forward to, because it's a very uncertain time for most people. And I know a lot of people have been losing jobs and things, but touch wood so far, my yacht hasn't been too affected in that way.
Okay, no, that's great to hear. And if you are going to be looking, even if it is just one or two positions to fill at the end of this, what are some of the things that you'll be looking at? I think there's going to be quite a big market of crew or pool of crew to look at or to draw CVs from. Is there anything or any advice that you can give to stewards or stewardesses looking to apply for jobs? What are some of the things that you look for in a CV?
I think most importantly is now, if this is something that you are looking to do, get into, or green crew, there is every opportunity for you now to take advantage of making your CV, look as good as it can. I know there is so much out there saying kind of like, how good your CV has to look and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And yet so many CVs that fall across my desk don't really live up to even the basics of what you're looking for. So I do think that is something that you have, hopefully, obviously everyone is in different situations, but you will have the time to research more, have a look at other CVs online, because you can always find them via Facebook groups or other, and talking to agents and other people, they'll be able to kind of supply them with what you're looking for. It really is often, especially for junior roles, you'll have so many CVs that come across, and the way that you can present yourself, working on your cover letters as well, is a huge thing. And that's something that's very important for me. I don't like to open up a CV without a cover letter, just kind of giving a more personal view into what I can then kind of find. Whenever I'm, like, if I post online and looking for crew, I will always ask for a cover letter, and only 50% of the time will I ever really receive that. So I think it's kind of looking into ways that you can kind of make yourself stand out in that respect. Taking some good photos if you are able to, kind of that's so important. Like, I am, I've got a set of rules. If I have a position to fill and I've got 100 CVs, I have kind of like, I will only ever scan the first load through. And if I see somebody taking a selfie, or if anyone hasn't made the time to shave or apply some makeup or do your hair, or just the basics, if it's that many CVs, then I'm gone. I feel like people with extra skills, so kind of nurses, masseuses, spa stewardesses, etc., I feel like they put less less effort into their CV. I've been looking at a few recently, and having interviewed some of them, and I'm like, the way that she interviews and the way that she projected herself via her CV, she's two completely different people. She hadn't put in enough information. She hadn't put it across in a way that people could really, felt like I was reading between the lines, and I had to really talk to her in order to
get that
get the information. And I suppose another way of that is it's a great time to practice interviewing. There's especially online with wish I bought shares in Zoom before this. There is so much interviews and so many more agents, and everyone are looking for video interviews as well, kind of pre-recorded, which I do think is great. It's so important for me that you have somebody with the right personality who's going to fit in with your team and with the crew as a whole. Especially, we are a very close crew, and it's really important that I will bring someone in who's going to enhance the crew and really appreciate who we are as a team. And it is so much more difficult to do that just from your CV or just from a phone call, because I think face-to-face interviews are definitely going to have to wait for a while.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about a cover letter. A lot of people don't put enough emphasis on a cover letter. So I do CVs, I revamp CVs, I do career coaching for a lot of crew, especially captains and senior crew. So when I am rewriting their CV, I don't just do the layout and the writing in the CV. So the CV I do make very to the point, blunt, really highlighting key skills. It can be quite dry. And then, like you said, in the cover letter, that is where you can add a little bit of humor, a little bit, make your personality stand out a little bit more. And that's why it's so important. That's why your cover letter is, it's one of the first things that people will read. I like to be, depending on the person, I like to be a little tongue in cheek sometimes, depending on what the role is. Because again, when you're reading through 100 different CVs and you see a cover letter and it puts a smile on your face, you're like, oh, well, actually, hang on, this person might not be so bad to have on my team. If they're putting a smile on my face right now, then it depends. Like, obviously, it depends on the position. I wouldn't do that if it was a captain, but perhaps if it was a deckhand or something like that, and maybe they've got a few extra skills and trying to merge those extra skills together. I know that the cover letters that I've done for some of my captains, they're just like, wow, I didn't even know that it was possible to, that this, I didn't even know I needed a cover letter until you wrote it. And I don't. So for me, I don't do it without doing a consultation with them first. So I try and get their personality to shine through. It's not just me sitting there and thinking, oh, what would somebody like to hear? I really try and tailor it for that person. And that's the whole point, is that your CV is a very, very personal document. And so if I do have some stewardesses who want to make it a little bit more colorful or have a few more things, and then I'm like, it is a catch-22, but at the same time, I've had people be very adamant that this is who I am as a person. I'm very creative, and I would like that to show in my CV. And it works both ways. You can have a captain say, well, I don't want any of this, or I don't want any of that. But then you might get a stewardess, you might get a chief stew who's like, wow, I really love what they've done here. They probably would be very good at tables or this kind of thing. So again, it is also trying to match up your values to the boat values, and what do who do you want to work with, because everybody is different.
I mean, this industry is just so different to normally hiring if in a job, kind of like a land job, an office based, or because it's not just a colleague you're hiring. It is a family member and someone to exercise with and socialize with, and someone who you're bringing into our yacht family. So you need to see a bit of the personality kind of like shining through from that. And I mean, even just my brother, who was hiring a nanny, and he came to me because he's obviously never had to hire a nanny before, and I used to be one. So, and so many of the CVs then as well, I could have gone on for a while of just, they're hiring a family member, and people wouldn't, they often are quite scared to put that across, because you do want to be professional as well. But that's why I just love a cover letter. I just think
exactly.
It is important, and showing part of your personality. I don't want to hire someone who I don't think will be able to fit in with us. I do need someone who wants to do that interpretive dance at some point. It's very important. We are so busy in our charter season that I need someone who I know can roll with the punches and is happy, to and wants to have fun as well. It's about everything, and is going to fit in, and is going to want to dress up, and is going to, kind of like come do yoga with us, or bring something else that is going to kind of bring us more together. Not someone who is, too standoffish and just wants time to themselves all of the time. There is the balance, obviously. But if you can try and have that balance shown within your CV and your cover letter, then I think it will be, you're putting yourself at such a better place there. Okay. And also, I just have to say, if you do get an interview with someone, a follow-up email thanking them is make or break in me as well. I have made decisions between hiring people because it's come down to that. And I think if people can now take the time at looking at interview etiquette, I recently had someone filing their nails whilst on their phone to me. And the noise was so distracting. And to me, it wasn't even for a spa position, like, and so I think just kind of like taking the time to have a look at, what the extra things that you can do to make yourself stand out. Obviously, everyone is different, and maybe somebody would have appreciated that. But it is just, it is a personal thing for a lot of people, but there definitely are some hard and fast rules. And I think 9 times out of 10, I don't get a follow-up email or text or WhatsApp or however we've been communicating, just thanking me for the time. or anything like that. And to me, it's very important. I've never had an interview and not done that myself.
Right. Well, I think that brings up quite a key point. In the cover letter, I always make sure that there is a very specific call to action at the bottom of that, at the cover letter. For example, I really look forward to elaborating on all of this in an interview. Okay. Then it's like, all right, next step, interview. All right. Because the whole point of your CV, so you do your CV, you apply for a job. One of my big tips is that read the job description. All right. If you have one CV and you send that off to 100 different people and 100 different jobs, and you're not tweaking it for every job that you're applying for, then you're not doing CV applications right. All right. You need to read the job description. Obviously, the first thing is that you shouldn't lie in your CV, but the second thing is that you should be trying to tweak it a little bit. If they want somebody with certain skills, make sure that you've listed those skills, if you have them, obviously, somewhere in your CV, under previous job, under skills heading. But again, like you need these are some easy tips to implement in your CV and your application. And then, like you said, following up at the end, if you do get to that next phase, to the interview, to send a thank you so much for your time. I look forward to hearing about whether I was successful or not, or if I need to go for another interview, or if the captain was, and again, it's just that call to action. And it's the same thing. What people also don't understand is that you're marketing yourself. Okay. Your CV is like a billboard on the side of the road, or an advert in a magazine. Like that is your specific piece of advertising for yourself. All right. And anything about selling or marketing or anything like that, it's all about following up. All right. So like for me, in my business, I wouldn't be very successful if I just contacted a whole bunch of people, had a bunch of conversations, and then, they forget about you, they forget who you are. And then you just say for them, hey, so how would you like to proceed with this? Or, thank you so much for the chat. I look forward to welcoming you in the course, or whatever it may be. You definitely get a much better response if you follow up. And again, it shows that you're being proactive, all right, that you can take the initiative. It's all about taking initiative.
And it is. I found previously I was interviewing with the captain, and I knew he was very busy. I offered to book my own flight in order to come for an interview.
I remember that.
I think that's what got me the job in the end. I know I sent you the receipt, so thanks for that. But I think that being proactive in that way, it really helped me. And obviously there is a fine line within that, but if you don't put yourself out there, and a lot of it is that was obviously later in my career. So obviously I kind of like got to know the industry a lot. But again, it's a good time now. There are so many blogs and books and help kind of out there that you can contact. Like I've seen online, there's question and answers and coffee mornings and things, and webinars and other things that are happening over this time. And I know there will be a lot of people out there also with time on their hands and will happily have a one-to-one conversation with people. I think it can be quite daunting putting yourself out there, especially on some kind of Facebook groups and stuff, because how anything is ever going to happen. And there are some people out there who are very judgmental and a little bit trolly kind of when you do that. And it's such a difficult industry, because I think a lot of people forget that we were all clueless at one point, because for most of your life, you have no idea what this industry is. It's only kind of like when you do find out, is you looking in and you have so many different people. I mean, when I remember when I started out 9 years ago, the different information I got from so many different people, I ended up in Florida without a B1, B2 because, because somebody had told me that they did that and they got a job and it was fun, and I just believed them without, doing it myself. So
yeah, so that's a very good point. You need to, the internet is full of information, and you need to also kind of curate that information. I see a lot of people wanting to try and offer Green Crew some advice and tips and tricks and whatever the case may be, and that's wonderful. But, sometimes I look at the information that they've posted and I'm like, that is blatantly incorrect. So you know, my advice too to green crew would be to make sure that you are getting the correct advice. And I also make the point to my students, one of their assignments, they have to contact agents to find out information about, you know, what they need to get into a certain port. And they get information back and I'm like, that's not the right information. And they're like, well, it's from the agent. And I'm like, yeah, but did you just check one source or did you check a few sources? You know, so again, if you are doing research about what needs to go in your CV, or again, you know, that is a cut and dry situation where you know, they might not have gotten the full amount of information, but when it does come to CVs, there is a lot of information online. There are a lot of blogs. I've written a blog on one of my websites on the Yacht Crew Coach about how to take the perfect CV photo. You know, what time of day you need to take it. Should you be wearing makeup, yes or no? Should you be clean shaven? I hope if you are a woman that you are clean shaven. You know, yeah. But it's there for free. People can read it. You can watch my video about how to take it, you know, a photo if you are staring into light, you know, if you are in the sunlight, you know, so just things that I've learned along the way, because I did have to take a lot of crew photos for charter profiles and all of that, for CV photos, you know. And the thing is that I hate wearing makeup during the day when I'm on board, you know, and it's dirty hair and you're in your whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. Your CV photo needs to look polished and professional. So it's not about being a supermodel. It's not about you know, having and not about looking, you know, like you've just stepped off of a magazine shoot or whatever. That's not the point. It's about presenting a polished and professional demeanor. And that's really
important to take a picture specifically for this. I see so many CVs where they've just taken you know, a photo that they look good in on Instagram with maybe a few filters on it, but that doesn't, oh yeah, no, I've seen that one. I think that was yours. Yeah. With, you know, and they may look the best version of themselves in that photo, but from their perspective, but from my perspective, it's not professional enough, you know. I have such a thing against selfies, you know, even if you do not have anyone who is available to take your picture. If you're just down by a port somewhere and someone's walking by, have the, you know, you can go up to someone, and to have, you know, to have that confidence in order to do that. That is also, you need to have confidence in this line of work, especially facing, not just for guests, but also to interact with the crew on a whole, you know, like the, you know, engineers and captains, they see how many, you know, stewardesses come by. If you can't have confidence with the rest of your team, who are going to come from different countries and different backgrounds. So even if, you know, that kind of like test on trying to like talk to a stranger or interact with someone is brilliant, you know, character building. We're all about character building. So.
I mean, how do you expect to get in front of charter clients? And again, the type of people who get on board the yacht, they aren't just your average Joe who, you know, they are sometimes celebrities, they are well-known and respected business people, and you know, again, they could be Russian oligarchs, they could be royalty, and so you need to also be able to have confidence in dealing with these type of people. So you know, again, cultivating that confidence is a really important skill as well. So there are also some really good online courses too, just to help you develop your own inner voice. Just as an example, you know, some of my students who I coach, again, like I see that they may not have as much confidence, and women are especially prone to that. I mean, women have a whole set of intrinsic and extrinsic factors that kind of go against them when they are in a leadership role, but just besides that, you know, they have all that perfectionism and imposter syndrome and fear of failure, and so that does make them kind of not be as vocal sometimes as men, and they are judged more harshly for sometimes what they say. So again, you know, you do need to build a little bit of resilience if you are going to work in yachting. And you need to cultivate your own confidence. And again, you know, I'm happy for people to contact me, and I've got a wonderful course by a British lady. She does a lot of confidence work with people. I mean, I think it's like £35. In fact, I think she was giving it away for free during COVID-19. So I should actually repost that. Yeah, it's just ways and things that you can do, exercises that you can do to cultivate your own inner champion, should I say.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm working on your personal development. So, you know, if you have the time, and also if you have the mental capacity, because especially at this time, not everyone does, you know, like everyone's journey is so different at the moment. Like I hear you can't buy alcohol in South Africa. So
oh no, also,
you know, so people might be really, or cigarettes, might be very stressed, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, like in Spain, we're not allowed to go out and exercise, but in England you can. So, and it's that, you know, and it depends where you're being confined to. Like I imagine that quite a lot of people now, especially if they were preparing to come out yachting, they might have had to move back in with parents, which might be stressful living. You might be worried about kind of like elderly relatives or anyone who does kind of has to come in contact, or there's so many kind of like, you know, factors that can make things difficult at the moment. I think a lot of people may, you know, welcome doing online courses and preparing them for themselves. And I think a lot of people will also struggle to focus on something like that. And I think as long as you recognize that it's not the be all and end all, you know, like if you can work on this is brilliant, but not to beat yourself up about it and not to kind of like set yourself up to feel worse or for failure if you don't manage to do a personal development course or work on your wine knowledge, or, you know, fold a napkin a couple of times a day, which I am actually still doing. So small things.
I mean, and that's very important. I think, again, it's that kind of toxic positivity that people put out there. Like, if you're not working on your side hustle, if you're not learning a new skill, if you're not, you know, what are you doing during the lockdown? I mean, I'm a single mom. Like, sometimes it just takes all of my energy just to, well, I have to get out of bed in the morning because I have a screaming child. But, you know, it does take a lot. And I know that, again, sometimes people weren't in the best of mental health before going into this lockdown. I mean, it was kind of just pounced on us in South Africa. And, you know, we've just had it extended for an additional 2 weeks. So it was 3 weeks. Now it's going to be 5 weeks. And again, you know, it's just because you have time doesn't necessarily mean you're in the right frame of mind to, be doing courses or doing self-improvement.
Yeah. And I think you just have to set realistic goals. I think when I first heard I was going into lockdown, I quite like being at home. So I was disappointed that I couldn't make it back to the boat. Just it would be much easier to be working on a boat. But I thought, no, I'm going to make the best of the situation. Huge list of this and another list of this, and I'm going to, you know, I'll be up and I'll be doing the exercise before, and I'm going to get dressed every single morning, and I'm going to do this. And it's quickly, I'm like, whoa, hang on, you know, because, you know, other than like when I am working on board, I have my food cooked for me, and I have my laundry done, and I only have my cabin to take care of, not my entire apartment. So I think I just had to really, I spent a couple of weeks readjusting, and I am more than happy to spend, you know, most of the day in pajamas. Well, at least when it's down, depending what interaction I need to do that day.
I've got a fantastic business coach, and she calls it a business mullet, where you're professional on the top and your PJs at the bottom.
Yeah. I've also had to cut down on social media and, you know, definitely be very, very careful about where I source my news from, as well, kind of like in these times. Difficult times, but I think specifically for people who are coming into the industry or junior crew, if being able to focus on what you're doing kind of like in the future, if you can use this time, then it is something you can take advantage of. You know, even, I mean, my mouse pad is my favorite one.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And that is it. Like there's been quite a few people posting some videos. I know Louise, what is her surname? She's been posting some, you know, just flower care and this, and I think she's from YPI crew. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, again, if you are green coming into the industry, you know, it is a time where you will have to perhaps look at how you're going to set yourself apart from all the other green crew, because I think there are going to be jobs that will come up, and, you know, people with experience are probably going to be, you know, filling those positions first. So I think it is going to be tough for green crew. I know that there is a webinar. So tomorrow is Thursday. I think there's a webinar tomorrow with She of the Sea, and our lovely Joyski is one of the one of the guests on there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just from my side, I actually have a CV course that quite a lot of people have done. I take all my knowledge and wisdom, I put it into it's basically like a blueprint. You download templates. There's 2 templates that you can choose from, and it basically, I tell you what to put in your CV. So I say, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to look at. These are things that are going to set you apart. I have a skill set. And I think it's not expensive. So it's only like 34 euros or something like that. So really not a huge investment. But I think that what you get out of it at the end of it is, again, a CV that will hopefully
Yeah.
give you a job.
And
This is all done.
And it really can come down to getting a job or not,
Yeah.
and that if it's a junior role, and I always like to to hire at least kind of like one green crew member when I can, and I've got the time to train, but almost always I like to hire a green crew member, and you really do have to kind of set yourself apart. And also, please take this time to up the settings on your social media, and make sure that whatever people can see, it can show your personality, but as long as it doesn't show you taking drugs or half naked. Not every single picture is of you passed out drunk, because that can also make a difference.
And that's the first thing that people will do, is that they get a CV and they'll go and let me go and find them on Facebook, because everybody's on Facebook these days, and they'll just go Facebook. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, that, no, dodgy. Not so sure about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and
thanks so much.
like I have my girls on board, and I know which one to ask, and they will be able to find within a few minutes.
Oh yeah.
Every single social media, I'm not the greatest at that, so I leave it to some of the younger girls on board. And if it is coming down to checking that and doing this, and often it's like, okay, who are we going to hire? It's like, this girl looks like she'll fit in with us more, or kind of this one actually looks the same as her picture on her CV, and kind of like has backed up some of that, because it's such in a world where everything is done internationally and you can't meet people face to face, often, not just in these times, like whatever access that you have is really important. And and so it's like definitely something that, if you have the time now to work on, I think will really help.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much, Claire. Thanks for joining me.
No,
All right, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you very much. I hope you do too, and I'll speak soon.